Good morning, everyone, and welcome to MoodleMoot Bangladesh 2026. I'm Scott Anderberg, CEO of Moodle, and I'm delighted to have the opportunity to welcome you to conference this morning. I'm sorry I can't be there with you, but it's great to have you there. I want to start this morning with a big thank you to BrainStation 23, a very valuable Moodle certified partner. BrainStation 23 has been a partner since 2021, operating across 6 global offices and serving customers around the world, doing some really exciting things in machine learning and AI development, working in LMS development, of course, as a Moodle partner, data engineering, data migration, and much more. Keep your eye out for the folks from BrainStation 23 today and make sure you have a chat with them. I was delighted to get to meet Mizanur at our global MoodleMoot in Edinburgh earlier this year. You can see a picture of the two of us over there. I also want to say thank you to our contributors. The theme for today is transforming education and workforce learning at scale with AI, and we have some great stuff lined up for you. So a big thanks to Mohammed Riyad Hossein, the CHRO of RAK Ceramics, Mizanur, again, CTO of BrainStation 23, Cheryl Villaroman, President and CEO of Nafila Web Technologies, another very valuable Moodle partner. And then we have a couple folks from Moodle itself there. Safat will be joining live from Melbourne. Safat is one of our technical architects. And Max Espley, our channel manager for APAC and Canada. Keep your eye out for those guys as well. Thank you so much to all of you for what you're bringing to the conference today. Just a couple of slides on where we are as a company and as a platform. Most of you will know this. We crossed a big milestone back in November. We crossed the 500 million registered user mark in November. It means across the 145,000 or so registered sites, we have over 500 million registered learners. We have 230 plus countries and territories where Moodle is being used. And that makes Moodle the #1 LMS globally by deployment. It's a really exciting time, and we're very, very proud of what we're doing, particularly in collaboration with our partners and the community all over the world. Many of you will know that we also just released Moodle 5.2 with some exciting things included in that 5.2 release. 4 basic categories, just in terms of the course structure and the user experience. We've really worked hard there to make sure that that's improved with a clearer course structure. We did some good work in assessments, improving especially the question bank capability and the reporting that you can get there. Within the platform, there's a lot of work being done in our technology modernization and our user experience teams, particularly around our design system capability and some of the modernization in the underlying code. And then in AI, a lot more flexibility there. One of the things to really note is that within the AI support, we now can include Gemini and AWS Bedrock, giving more choice and control to the AI systems that you're using within Moodle. And that's important because that's precisely the topic that we are looking at today. So I want to share a few thoughts as we move forward and think about what the rest of the day might look like on intelligence generally, and then specifically on artificial intelligence. I've been spending a lot of time at my house, at least recently, talking about the fact that there's actually 2 different kinds of AI. There is, first of all, artificial intelligence. This is the amazing tool that we're all beginning to get familiar with, beginning to use in our day-to-day lives, for our jobs, personally, and all the things that it can do to speed things up, provide higher quality information, make a lot of things simpler. But then there's an AI that oftentimes we tend to forget about, and that's actual intelligence. That is the judgment that we all continue to possess that helps us decide how we direct that tool. And it is really, really important that we know when to use which. As this becomes more and more prevalent in everything we do, that discernment continues to become more and more important as well. So I've got a couple of litmus test questions that I'm using on a regular basis for this. And I think these would be things that might be useful today as you move through the sessions, you have conversations with others to think about these things as well. The first of those is, am I sufficiently expert at this task to assess that the output's comprehensive and accurate? In other words, do I have the level of domain expertise that's necessary to analyze and critically determine whether that content is legitimate? And the second is in the task that I'm looking at, how much of my distinct personality, my values, my individual worldview, how much of that is required to produce the outcome that I need? Because there are certain things that are great for AI to do. Technical, functional emails are fantastic as something that AI can spit out really, really quickly. I would argue that if you're writing an essay on a particular philosophical view that may be fairly controversial, that's something that needs a lot of your personality in it and should be something you should think hard about how you use and whether you use AI. Now, what's really important is to recognize that there are consequences if we get this wrong. And I have I'm drawing on some ideas here from David Brooks, who recently wrote an article in The Atlantic called "The People Who Will Thrive in the Age of AI." And I really like some of what he said. He argues here that there are a few things that happen if we get this wrong. The first is cognitive atrophy. We ultimately lose the ability to do the basic tasks at the same level of quality as before. So as a good example of this, just by a quick show of hands out there in the audience, how many of you came to the venue this morning using some kind of GPS mapping technology, Apple Maps or Google Maps or Waze or something else? Quick show of hands. Great. How many of you, if you woke up this morning and were handed a map or an almanac, could have done that just as easily with that legacy paper-based technology? About 20 years ago, it would have been the only option, but very few people now can pick up a map or an almanac and navigate to where they need to get with the same level of ease. And the same thing will happen when we get it wrong with when we should use AI technology. That cognitive atrophy begins to happen, and we lose the ability to do those tasks the way we used to do them. Second is a thing called cognitive surrender. And ultimately, this happens if you get the first of my two litmus questions wrong. If you do not have the domain expertise that you need to assess the output, you end up abdicating your critical analysis of the information that's presented to you. We cannot determine whether the outputs that are coming from AI are actually legitimate. And so we surrender that capability. And the third thing that happens is called cognitive polarization. And this really takes place because some people will resist the gap that takes place by succumbing to cognitive atrophy or cognitive surrender. There will be lots of people out there who don't want that to happen, and they'll make the effort not to have that happen, but there will be lots of people who do. Cognitive polarization is the result of the widening gap between those who are willing to work hard cognitively to avoid those first two consequences and those who do not. And we live in a world right now with increasing economic disparity, increasing political polarization. Those are things that are present in so many parts of the world right now. I know those things are both been very, very present in recent years in Bangladesh. And that is a difficult place to live. But if we think that economic disparity and political polarization make for a difficult world to live in, this effect of cognitive polarization is something that will be truly awful. Now, these are the consequences if we get this wrong, if we don't use our actual intelligence to determine when we use artificial intelligence. But what's the remedy for that? What's the antidote to these things? And David Brooks argues in this article, and I really agree with this. This resonated so strongly with me, and I think it's such a good idea to have at the forefront of your conversations and your thoughts as you go through the rest of the day, that what really represents the antidote of the remedy here is a commitment to ongoing individual cognitive struggle, recognizing that that intelligence that you hold, that mental capacity, we have to continue to commit to struggle with that individually. And as people that are focused on education, whether that's in a formal education environment or in workforce learning, we have to continue to help to motivate people to be hungry for more learning, to be hungry for more curiosity, to seek more adventure in their lives and their intellectual pursuits, so that the reasons to do that hard work, that hard mental work of just being human, remains front and center to what they do. I think it's important that we recognize struggle is one of the key elements of simply being human. And as we encounter this world of increasing artificial intelligence, we have to make sure that we are continuing to focus on those things that keep us human. So I want to close with one additional thought. because there is another type of intelligence that we oftentimes forget about, and that's collective intelligence. Now, plenty of us, in fact, probably almost all of us, have operated in the kinds of environments where we've heard this phrase, and it feels true, that really none of us is as dumb as all of us. And it can definitely feel true when you're operating in big bureaucratic environments, that the more people you put into a problem-solving environment, the less likely you are to get a good outcome. And it leads us to a position of a cynical point of view where we believe that's always true. But I think we have to resist that. Moodle is built on the philosophy of social constructivism. Social constructivism is essentially the idea that we are learning together, that the process of coming together as people is what creates new knowledge and creates new frameworks, and an enriched environment that spawns new learning as we move forward. And that works when there are a few really important things present. The first of those is social interaction. We need to encourage dialogue, debate, collaboration, curiosity, vulnerability. Those conditions, those attributes are what make learning possible. As you move through the day, those are the kinds of things that I really encourage you to engage in. It's going to make the day much, much richer for you. The second is the idea of the more knowledgeable other. You have to acknowledge that you cannot always be the smartest one in the room if you want to learn anything. There's probably in every room we step into somebody who knows just a little bit more about one of the things we're discussing or trying to understand, and we have to continue to look out for that more knowledgeable other. The third is reciprocal teaching, the recognition that a learner and a more knowledgeable other co-create that knowledge together, but those roles are really fluid. Sometimes you're the learner, sometimes you're the more knowledgeable other. Then that switches, and you get to take advantage of that position from the other side. Lev Vygotsky, who is the primary author and grandfather of social constructivism, said, "Through others, we become ourselves." And I think that's exactly what you all have the opportunity to do today, is you're engaging with each other, though we are talking about and thinking about how do we use this new amazing technology, artificial intelligence, to further our mission around education and improving that for learners. It is that interaction, that very human interaction with each other, that continues to make us more human and gives us the ability to make good choices about how and where we are engaging with that technology and enriching the education experience. So with that, I want to encourage you to engage with each other. I want you to encourage to ask great questions, invite debate, put yourself forward to collaborate, look for those more knowledgeable others, and have a fantastic day. I can't wait to hear all the stories. Thanks so much.